The issue of freedom has been throughout Western civilization for many centuries a key subject for consideration and analysis. It is very important for people to have a clear concept of the essence of freedom. I submit that freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. Because we live in an environment with limitations in which you will get some very bad feedback if you choose to do just whatever you want, you cannot logically adopt this as your standpoint. For example, if you choose to step off the roof of a 10-story building, you will get a quick lesson in the limitations of freedom. We live in a context of natural law, what the founder of social credit, Major C.H. Douglas, referred to as the canon. It is the underlying structure of the universe, and he believed that true freedom was our ability to explore that and to understand it. Similarly, if you wanted to poison yourself with drugs, you might be thinking yourself living a free existence, but shortly you risk having some very bad results from such a choice. So the freedom of people such as the Satanist Aleister Crowley, whose maxim that he has given to many of the youth of this world, which is, "Do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," is not genuine freedom. It's just a form of insanity. Now, when you get into the theory of freedom, human freedom is most often associated with the domain of politics. For example, we are insistently told by press and politicians that our citizens who died in wars gave their lives so that we might preserve our precious right to vote for the government of our choice, and that this sacrifice they made has given us the essence of freedom. The standardized curricula of our educational system supports this line by inculcating in the young the belief that freedom is more or less synonymous with having a parliament or having a secret ballot to vote for that parliament that periodically allows voters to get fed up with the political party in power, so-called in power. They're not as much in power as we are led to believe, I think. And we're periodically allowed to turf them out and import a different gang to run things. And while parliaments and votes may, if used judiciously by the electorate, be aids to freedom, they are far from being the essence of freedom. And in many respects nowadays, they have been warped in ways that actually result in diminishing our freedom. Freedom is a very simple thing. It is the ability of the individual to choose or refuse one thing at a time. This definition, which was supplied by Major Douglas, sheds light on the directly anti-freedom character of many of the aspects of our current political systems. The one thing at a time part of the definition is critical. Whenever a bunch of disparate policy options are bundled into one choice, for example, in the devious legislative device of the omnibus bill, where they combine many different policies and require legislators to vote on them simultaneously, in such a bill, freedom of choice is essentially extinguished. This also is why political party forms are so obnoxious. People are expected to express support all at once for a wide range of policies touching matters that are connected tenuously at most. This is why many voters feel uncomfortable with the process. In order to participate, they have to compromise their principles and wind up casting their ballot for what they see only as the least evil of the policy packages offered to them. Of course, this matters less now that once elected politicians typically no longer even feel an obligation to honor the commitments they've made during political campaigns. For example, in Canada, the country I come from, voters sick of such sleaziness have successfully pressured politicians to provide actual signed guarantees that they will keep campaign promises if they get elected. For example, guarantees not to increase taxes. People assumed that if they got it in writing, it could be made to stick. But in the end result, it didn't have any effect whatsoever. Taxes were raised as soon as the new government assumed office, which of course is the normal pattern because the politicians hope that the 4 years until the next election will give the electorate enough time to forget how they were betrayed. The emphasis on political choice as the basis of freedom disguises the fact that such choice is illusory unless economic freedom precedes it. A little thought should convince you that for the vast majority of people, the main limiting factor on their freedom throughout history has been economic rather than political. Only the odd person wound up in a dungeon for annoying a local office holder or powerful figure. Politics touches our lives irregularly, and one hopes normally infrequently, because when it touches, it often is not a pleasant experience. But economics, the requirement to meet our bodily needs, impinges upon us daily. And without such primary sustenance keeping us alive, our political vote is patently valueless. It is significant that choosing among economic options is more exemplary of freedom, as Douglas defined it, because normally such choices involve single, separate matters, things we can really identify with, rather than the mishmash of the unrelated or irrelevant ones we are typically offered in the political process. But the media and politicians are never eager to investigate the dimensions of our freedom measured by the progress being made in giving us more and ever more assured economic options. They try to keep our focus on the political question. We have come a long way in the extension of our economic options, but considering the exponentially rapid explosion of technology, nowhere nearly as far as we could have. When early man was naked and trying to catch a rabbit by running it down, he was investing much energy and time with poor economic results, often no lunch, whereas a man wielding a stick was more likely to bring his family a meal with less exertion. A man with a keen aim and a sling, or in this country, I suppose, the country I'm in at present, being Australia, a boomerang could bag dinner with even less effort. In other words, the invention of tools enhanced the efficiency of what men could achieve towards the satisfaction of their economic requirements. In those simple times, the reward was immediate, in the form of enhanced time to do other things of one's choosing. In other words, they had enhanced freedom. This is the natural consequence of improving one's equipment, and it was the motivation for innovating in this area. The progress we have made to the present is evidently enormous. We have vast resources of physical resources that we have revealed to be useful to us. We've applied machinery, technology to these to produce plethora, an amazing wealth of goods and services. And the result of this should be an enhancement of freedom commensurate with our economic progress. Yet if we look at our position relative to, say, the position of people living 50 years ago, when much of the technology we have today was unheard of, maybe even unimagined, our daily life has not changed significantly. Those people were working hours of work similar to what we have today. So the rewards of economic progress are not being got back to the population. And these rewards should be the foundation of a continual extension of our freedom. Social credit is the method whereby that potential can be got over to the population in the form of goods and services easily procured without the necessity, which we have today under our current financial system, of constantly expanding debt. The debt burden of the world apparently currently is about $152 trillion. Our gross world product is less than half of that figure. This is a limitation on our future freedom because that debt will have to be repaid. People are going to have to work in order to obtain revenue to repay it. And so, given the financial system we have, the more progress we make, just the further we fall behind in our ability to meet our financial obligations and the less freedom we have. Social credit is the key to rectifying this problem. Application of it is long overdue.